Have you ever felt air that seemed more expensive than your entire life? Air mixed with the smell of melted asphalt, sweet Arabic oud perfume, and fear, sticky, animal fear, the kind that whispers that everything can disappear in 1 second. Welcome to the biggest hallucination of the 21st century. Welcome to Dubai, a city that should not exist, a place built in the middle of dead, burning desert, like an act of rebellion against physics, logic, and maybe even God himself. When your Emirates plane begins landing through the thick yellow haze, you don't see a city through the window. You see something that looks like a computer chip dropped carelessly into an endless sandbox. Glass towers rise from the ground like broken pieces of humanity's dream of immortality, and your brain refuses to believe it. Because somewhere deep inside, on the level of instinct, on the level of that ancient monkey still living inside every human, you understand something simple. Life should not exist here. This is sunburned death wearing a luxury suit. But the world was sold a different story. We were told Dubai was the top of civilization, a perfect oasis of the future, a place where robots bring your coffee and police officers drive Lamborghinis. Instagram showed us tanned girls drinking champagne near Burj Khalifa, crypto millionaires throwing money from hotel balconies, and endless luxury under perfect blue skies. Nobody told us the paradise was standing on quicksand. Nobody said this shining city was really just a giant movie set for a slow-motion disaster film. Step outside the cold, clean airport terminal, and reality hits immediately. Not sea breeze, not freedom. Hell, the heat punches you in the face. Humidity fills your lungs like water. Your glasses fog up in seconds. The air smells like hot concrete. Traffic exhaust from millions of SUVs, and underneath it all, a faint but disgusting smell of sewage that even the most expensive perfume cannot hide. That smell is truth. Because Dubai is not a city built for people. It is a giant air-conditioned mausoleum for human ego, a golden cage where millions lock themselves willingly, chasing the ghost of success. There is no real history here, no roots. Every palm tree, every drop of water, every green lawn is violence against nature, a massive waste of resources created only to impress the world, to prove man can defeat the desert. But the desert is not defeated, it is waiting. The desert is patient. It does not argue, it does not complain, it simply waits, slowly pushing sand against the foundations of every tower, every hotel, every fake island shaped like a palm tree. It waits for the cleaning machines to stop, for the money to slow down, for human arrogance to get tired. Because Dubai is not a victory over nature. It is a temporary pause. We like to look at Dubai with envy. We scroll through TikTok videos where sheikhs give each other cheetahs as gifts, where people eat gold-covered steaks, where influencers call this place the future of humanity. But deep inside, something feels wrong. Because Dubai is not the beginning of a new world. It feels like the final stage of the old one. This city is the last expensive party before the lights go out. It is the final song of a civilization that decided everything can be bought. Time, climate, beauty, loyalty, even survival itself. But nature does not accept bribes. Physics does not care about your Rolex, and no amount of money can negotiate with heat, water, gravity, or decay. That is why this mirage is already cracking. Look closer. The perfect skyline hides panic. The giant towers look strong, but many of them are half empty. Entire luxury apartments sit dark at night, bought not for living, but for speculation. The rich don't build homes here. They park money here. The city becomes a giant storage unit for global greed. The famous artificial islands look beautiful from space, but on the ground, reality is uglier. Water in the lagoons becomes stagnant. The sea fights back. Foundations shift. Expensive villas stand on engineering compromises that nature never agreed to. Even the roads tell the truth. Without constant maintenance, sand begins swallowing them almost immediately. Stop the machines for a few days, and the desert starts taking everything back like a patient landlord collecting unpaid rent. This is the real Dubai, a city that survives only because billions of dollars are constantly pumped into keeping the illusion alive. Air conditioning must never stop. Water must be created from the sea. Glass towers must be cooled against the burning sun. Every minute costs money. Every second is expensive. This is not a self-sustaining city. It is life support. Pull the plug and everything collapses. That's why standing here feels strange. You are surrounded by luxury, but instead of peace, you feel tension. You feel like a guest at a wedding where everyone knows the marriage is already dead. People smile, but nobody relaxes. Everyone is performing. Love becomes escort. Friendship becomes networking. Freedom becomes golden handcuffs. The higher you go, into penthouses, private clubs, rooftop pools, the clearer it becomes that the emperor has no clothes. Beyond the glowing skyline, there is only endless dark desert, waiting like a silent witness. And one day, it will win. Because this entire glittering machine is built on debt, fragile promises, and the labor of invisible people you will never see in travel brochures. This is not paradise. It is a showroom, a beautiful simulation where reality is replaced by performance, where appearance matters more than truth, and where the cost of maintaining the fantasy keeps rising every year. People call Dubai a dream, but dreams are dangerous when you forget to wake up. And this city? It is not a dream. It is a warning. Have you ever watched a child build a sandcastle at the beach? They always do the same thing. They don't build a small practical house. They don't care about comfort or logic. No, they build the tallest tower possible, higher and higher, even though they already know the first strong wave will destroy everything. Why? Because it is not about beauty. It is about shouting into the world, "I exist. Look at me. I matter." And that childish scream is the real foundation of Dubai. Dubai is not a city built for living. It is a giant sandcastle built by adults with unlimited money. Every tower, every island, every impossible project is not architecture. It is psychology. It is insecurity poured into concrete and covered with glass. It is fear wearing designer clothes. Look at Burj Khalifa, that silver needle piercing the burning sky, visible from almost 100 kilometers away. People call it a miracle of engineering, a symbol of progress, proof of human genius. But ask yourself one simple question. Why? What practical reason exists for building the tallest tower on Earth in the middle of a desert where land is endless and space is cheap? There is none. It is like building a submarine with an open roof, expensive, irrational, and dangerous. The real purpose is not function. It is ego. It is one person, one system, one city, trying to write its name in history using the language of height. Higher than New York, higher than Shanghai, higher than common sense, and that obsession spreads like a virus. In Dubai, form always wins over meaning. Buildings are not made for people to live inside. They are made for drone shots, for Instagram, for investors sitting in another country who will never visit. Even inside Burj Khalifa, the truth is strange. Many of the highest floors are not luxurious homes at all. They are technical spaces, empty zones, communication systems. Because actually living that high is exhausting. The building moves with the wind. Elevators take forever. Life becomes a sealed capsule, disconnected from earth, from streets, from ordinary human reality. But nobody cares, because the goal is not comfort. The goal is the number, the record, the headline, the illusion of superiority. And once you understand that, you see it everywhere. The Palm Islands, giant artificial palms drawn into the sea like a billionaire's signature. Beautiful from the sky, yes, but on the ground, houses packed too close together, water trapped in artificial lagoons with poor circulation, heat, humidity, and expensive problems hiding behind luxury walls. Some engineers forgot one tiny detail: water needs to move. Without circulation, beauty becomes swamp. But from an airplane, it looks like a miracle. And in Dubai, that is enough. Because image is everything. Reality is negotiable. The same disease infects the entire city. Rotating towers, giant frames bigger than buildings, crescent-shaped hotels, islands shaped like the world itself, already being damaged by the same sea they were supposed to conquer. This is not urban planning. This is a psychiatric exhibition. Every skyscraper is a diagnosis. Every megaproject is a panic attack with a construction budget. And the saddest part is this: Dubai's architecture is architecture of loneliness. There are no real streets made for walking, no warm public squares where strangers become neighbors, no natural human rhythm. There are only highways, massive roads cutting the city into isolated islands of wealth, connected only by cars and air conditioning. If you walk here, people look at you like something is wrong. A pedestrian is a system error. A person without a car becomes almost invisible. You don't feel like a citizen here. You feel like an ant crawling under giant glass monsters staring down at you with empty windows like dead eyes. And maybe the most frightening part is how temporary it all is. These buildings are not standing in friendly conditions. Salt eats metal. Sand enters every crack. The sun destroys plastic, rubber, and patience. Without endless maintenance, expensive, constant, obsessive maintenance, the whole city would decay faster than most people could finish paying their mortgage. This is not Rome. It is not built for centuries. It is a giant movie set held together by invoices. A city assembled like expensive Lego by someone who wanted every toy at once. The tallest, the biggest, the brightest, the most expensive. And behind all that shine, emptiness. No soul, no roots, no peace. We look at Dubai and think we are seeing power. But if you look carefully, you see fear. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of becoming ordinary. Fear of going back to tents, camels, and silence. That fear pushes everything upward, higher and higher, as if climbing far enough might let them escape the ending. But the ending is still there, because the tide always comes, and eventually every sandcastle returns to sand. Let's stop talking about diamonds, private jets, and rooftop pools for a moment. Let's talk about something people in polite society hate to mention. Let's talk about shit. Yes, the most basic, dirty, unavoidable part of human existence. The thing every human produces, whether they live in a village or on the 120th floor of a luxury penthouse. Because Dubai, in its obsession with looking like heaven, tried to pretend this problem did not exist, as if rich people somehow digest differently, as if billionaires produce perfume instead of waste. Imagine this: you are sitting in a beautiful apartment near Burj Khalifa, Italian marble under your feet, giant windows, dancing fountains below. You press the flush button on a toilet that costs more than most people's yearly salary, and like every modern person, you assume technology takes care of the rest. You imagine some invisible futuristic system quietly carrying everything away into the clean underground heart of the city. But for a long time, reality was so absurd, it sounded like satire. The tallest building on Earth, the Great Burj Khalifa, was not fully connected to a proper city sewer system. Yes, really. The most famous skyscraper in human history was, in many ways, a giant vertical village toilet, a luxury tower with a hidden problem nobody wanted to discuss. Every night, while tourists slept and Instagram lights kept shining, another city woke up. From the shadows came hundreds of sewage trucks, sometimes thousands. Heavy orange tanker trucks filled with human waste, moving like a silent army through the dark streets. Their job was simple: carry away what the city couldn't handle. This was not science fiction. This was daily life. Think about that image. You are stuck in traffic in your Ferrari, wearing a watch worth more than a house. Next to you stands an old diesel truck carrying tons of human waste, leaking smell so strong your eyes burn. No luxury perfume can defeat that smell. No air conditioner can fully hide it, because that smell is truth. It reminds everyone of the same thing. Under the designer clothes and business class tickets, you are still just a body, a fragile animal, a machine that eats, sweats, and produces waste. And the people driving those trucks? They are usually invisible migrants from Bangladesh, Pakistan, or India. Men the city depends on, but refuses to see. They can wait 24 hours, sometimes 2 full days, standing in line under brutal heat just to unload their tanks at treatment facilities that have been overloaded for years. No shade, no comfort, sometimes barely enough water to survive. Just diesel smoke, toxic fumes, and the smell of millions of people pretending they are above biology. And sometimes they cannot wait, because the line is too long, because the system is too broken, because the city grew faster than reality could support. So the waste gets dumped into storm drains, into empty desert, sometimes directly into the sea, into those same beautiful turquoise waters of the Persian Gulf, where tourists swim the next morning after paying thousands of dollars per night for a luxury resort. That is the real symbol of Dubai. Not the skyline, not the gold cars, not the shopping malls. The real symbol is a sewage truck stuck in traffic at 3 a.m., glass outside, medieval infrastructure underneath. It is like trying to build a spaceship using Stone Age plumbing, and this tells you everything about the priorities of the city. Sewage cannot be photographed for Instagram. No investor buys a sewer tunnel because it looks inspiring. Nobody posts a selfie next to wastewater treatment. So it was ignored. Money went to towers, islands, fountains, and luxury malls. Pipes were boring. Pipes did not create headlines, so pipes were forgotten. We are told Dubai is the city of the future, but even ancient Rome, 2,000 years ago, understood something simple. If you want civilization, you start with sanitation. You build roads, yes, but first, you build systems that keep people from drowning in their own waste. Dubai rushed to build the crown before building the skeleton. It built the theater set first and hoped the backstage would somehow fix itself later. Of course, now authorities are trying to repair the damage. They are spending billions on tunnels, treatment plants, and underground systems that should have existed from the beginning. They dig deeper every year, trying to catch up with their own ambition. But the smell remains, especially on hot, wet days when the wind moves from the wrong direction. A sweet, rotten smell. Impossible to forget. It floats above the city like a ghost. And that smell is not just sewage. It is the smell of speed, the smell of shortcuts, the smell of a lie. Because when someone sells you a smart city that still depends on caravans of waste trucks, they are not selling innovation. They are selling theater, a golden ghetto pretending to be the future. And here is the terrifying thought. If those trucks stopped tomorrow, the illusion would collapse in days. Imagine it. Drivers go on strike. Fuel supply breaks. A logistics problem hits. Within 3 days, the great futuristic miracle would begin drowning in its own waste. 3 days. That is how thin the line is between luxury and disaster. That thought is strangely honest. It destroys arrogance. It reminds us where humans actually stand in nature. We can build islands shaped like the world. We can invent flying taxis. We can sell apartments in the clouds. But we still struggle with the oldest problem in civilization. Where does the waste go? And in Dubai, that contradiction reaches its purest form. The city wants to be heaven, but heaven still needs plumbing. That is why this place feels so unsettling. Because the closer you look, the more the fantasy breaks. The giant malls feel less like progress and more like climate-controlled survival chambers. The towers feel less like success and more like expensive life support machines. The luxury becomes fragile, almost desperate. Everything depends on systems nobody wants to talk about. Electricity, cooling, water, waste, invisible workers, invisible pipes, invisible suffering. Take any of those away, and the shining image cracks immediately. That is not strength, that is dependence. And dependence hidden behind luxury is one of the most dangerous illusions in the modern world. Dubai teaches this lesson better than anywhere else. It says, you can cover reality with marble, you can perfume it, you can hide it behind glass. But eventually, truth arrives, usually in the form of heat, debt, gravity, or sewage. And truth does not care how expensive your penthouse is. Truth always comes through the pipes. That is the first real crack in the myth. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Because every fountain, every luxury tower, every perfect hotel lobby begins to feel slightly different. Not like a miracle. Like maintenance, not like paradise. Like a system one power outage away from panic. Dubai does not stand because it conquered nature. It stands because thousands of invisible people work every night to stop reality from breaking through the floor. And nothing reveals that more honestly than the simple act of flushing a toilet. If you think slavery ended in the 19th century, if you believe history solved that problem and humanity moved on, then you have probably never looked behind the shiny glass walls of Dubai. You have only seen the front stage, the fountains, the yachts, the influencers smiling on rooftops. But every theater has a backstage. And in Dubai, the backstage smells like sweat, diesel, and fear. Every centimeter of this city, every polished floor in the Dubai Mall, every palm tree on the artificial islands, every perfect road on Sheikh Zayed Road was built by people you were never supposed to notice. Millions of invisible workers, mostly from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka. Men who arrive carrying small bags and very big hopes. Recruiters in their villages promise them a new life, good salaries, safe jobs, a chance to send money home, a chance to save their parents, a chance to make sure their children never live the same poverty they did. For many families, Dubai is not a luxury fantasy. It is survival. So they borrow money, huge money. They take loans from relatives, from banks, from local loan sharks charging brutal interest. They sell land. They mortgage futures that do not exist yet. And then they land in the Emirates. That is when the trap closes. The first thing many employers do is take the passport. Think about how insane that is. In the 21st century, in one of the richest places on Earth, in a country hosting global expos and climate summits, a worker can lose the document that proves he exists. Without a passport, he is no longer a traveler. He becomes property. This is the famous kafala system. Sponsorship, they call it. A polite word for controlled dependence. Your boss controls your legal right to stay. Your boss controls whether you can change jobs. Your boss controls whether you can leave the country. Sometimes your boss controls whether you get paid at all. Freedom becomes paperwork, and paperwork belongs to someone else. They live in labor camps like Sonapur, a name that sounds almost beautiful. In Hindi, It can mean city of gold. But the reality is not gold. It is concrete despair. Tiny rooms with 10 or 12 men inside. No privacy, no silence, no real rest. Metal bunk beds stacked like storage shelves. Walls covered with mold. Broken air conditioners fighting hopelessly against desert heat. Bathrooms where the toilet is just a hole in the floor. And the smell: sweat, old clothes, cheap cooking oil, wet shoes, tired bodies, and hopelessness. A smell that enters your skin. A smell no luxury perfume can erase. They wake up at 4 in the morning. They get on overcrowded buses with broken suspension and no comfort. Then they ride for hours to construction sites where the city's miracles are being built. And there, under a sun that feels personal, they work. 12 hours, sometimes 14, sometimes more. The temperature in the shade reaches 50 degrees Celsius. In direct sunlight, even the rubber on cheap work boots begins to soften. Officially, there are midday break laws during extreme heat. Officially. But deadlines do not care about official rules. If a tower must be finished before an investor visit, if a hotel must open before tourist season, if a billionaire wants his private villa now, the laws become flexible. People faint, people collapse, people die. Heat stroke, dehydration, heart failure, falls from scaffolding. But in official statistics, these deaths often become natural causes. Just a tired heart, just bad luck. Nothing connected to labor conditions, of course. If a worker falls from the 30th floor and dies, his family may receive nothing. Maybe he violated safety rules. Maybe the visa had one paperwork issue. Maybe there is simply no one powerful enough to ask questions, because he was not a person in the system. He was a replaceable part, a human screw inside a machine printing money for people he will never meet. Salaries are delayed for months, sometimes not paid at all. Workers borrow again just to survive while waiting for wages already earned. They get fined for small mistakes, punished for arguing, punished for existing too loudly, and deportation can happen at any moment. No explanation, no appeal, just a plane ticket back to the poverty they tried to escape, except now they return with debt, shame, and years lost. This is not an accident. This is the design. A modern form of feudalism dressed up as labor migration. Legal, institutional, polished, sold to the world using words like opportunity and development. But underneath, it is still the oldest business in history. One human using another human. We walk through marble shopping malls and admire how clean everything looks. But we do not see the hands that polished that marble. Hands full of cuts, cracks, and permanent pain. We watch fireworks over Palm Jumeirah and luxury villas glowing at night. But we do not hear the men who stood waist-deep in salt water, driving the foundations into the sea. We eat in restaurants with golden steak and designer menus. But the kitchen cleaner sleeping in a shared room with 11 strangers will never taste any of it. The luxury has a foundation, and that foundation is not concrete. It is sacrifice, bones, exhaustion, forgotten names. The city sells itself as a dream, but dreams require fuel. In Dubai, that fuel is human life. This is why the place feels morally strange, because the richer the surface becomes, the more invisible the suffering underneath must become. Nobody wants to think about the man who cleaned the hotel room. Nobody wants to imagine the worker who built the balcony where they drink expensive coffee at sunset. Because if you think too hard about it, the whole vacation changes. The skyline stops looking like ambition. It starts looking like evidence. Evidence of a system where the value of your life depends almost entirely on your passport. If you have the right passport, you are an investor. If you have the wrong one, you are labor. One gets champagne, the other gets surveillance and silence. Dubai is like a vampire. It drinks strength from the poor so the rich can feel immortal. It turns suffering into architecture, pain into real estate, exhaustion into luxury branding. And while you are sitting on a perfect terrace looking at the Persian Gulf, drinking your iced latte and watching the sunset reflect on glass towers, somewhere in Sonepur, the man who built that terrace is sharing one bowl of rice with 5 roommates. He has not seen his children in 3 years. He does not dream about yachts. He dreams about sleep, about surviving tomorrow, about making it home alive. That is the real price of the Dubai miracle. Not money, lives, health, years, human futures quietly exchanged for polished marble and skyline photos. That is the everyday collapse hidden inside the everyday beauty. And once you see it, luxury never looks clean again. When people talk about Dubai's problems, they usually look for one villain. They want one evil billionaire, one cruel sheikh, one corrupt company, one perfect target to blame. It would be comforting if it were that simple. But the truth is worse. Because Dubai is not built by one monster. It is built by a system, and systems are much harder to fight because everyone participates. Some people rule it, some people profit from it, some people suffer inside it, and millions of people around the world keep feeding it every single day. Let's start at the top. Yes, the ruling elite carries enormous responsibility. The people who designed this model knew exactly what they were building. They understood that speed matters more than justice, appearance matters more than dignity, and control matters more than freedom. They created a city where image is policy, where criticism is dangerous, where labor can be imported, used, and replaced, where wealth protects you better than law ever could. This did not happen by accident. It was engineered. The system works exactly as it was designed to work. But stopping there would be too easy, because the machine needs more than rulers. It needs buyers. It needs believers. It needs us. Every foreign investor buying an empty apartment in Dubai Marina just for diversification is helping keep the illusion alive. Every company that moves money there because nobody asks difficult questions becomes part of the architecture. Every influencer posting "Dubai changed my life" while hiding the workers behind the camera is selling the myth to the next customer. Every tourist who sees luxury and chooses not to ask how it was built becomes part of the silence. And maybe the most uncomfortable truth, sometimes even the victims help protect the system, because hope is powerful. A worker from Nepal may know the conditions are brutal, but compared to hunger at home, brutal still feels like opportunity. A young woman flying in for luxury nightlife may understand the danger, but compared to poverty, danger can look like a chance. People do not always walk into traps because they are stupid. Sometimes they walk in because the alternative feels worse. That is how strong the machine is. It turns desperation into fuel. It teaches people to protect the very thing that hurts them because survival depends on it. And then there is the global audience, the rest of us. We laugh at the excess, but we also admire it. We mock the gold-covered steaks, but we still watch the videos. We criticize the Lamborghinis, but part of us still wants the keys. We say we hate shallow luxury, but social media proves otherwise. We reward performance, we reward appearances, we reward spectacle. Dubai did not invent this hunger. It simply mastered it. It became the perfect mirror for modern civilization, a place where value is measured by visibility, where status matters more than substance, and where morality becomes flexible if the hotel lobby is beautiful enough. That is why blaming only Dubai is dishonest. Dubai is not an alien planet. It is us. It is capitalism without embarrassment. It is consumerism without guilt. It is inequality without makeup. It is what happens when the global obsession with money stops pretending to be polite. The city simply says out loud what many societies whisper. If you are rich enough, the rules become optional. That truth makes people uncomfortable because it is not only about one country. It is about the entire world. Banks help move the money. Luxury brands help sell the fantasy. Western universities open campuses there. Global celebrities perform there. Football stars sign contracts there. Art galleries, fashion houses, consultants, real estate agencies. They all participate. Everyone gets a piece. Everyone tells themselves it is just business. And business becomes the perfect excuse for moral blindness. This is why outrage often feels fake. People criticize Dubai while happily taking its money. Governments lecture about human rights while signing billion-dollar deals. Corporations speak about diversity and ethics while using labor systems they would call criminal anywhere else. Morality becomes a costume. Put it on for interviews. Take it off for contracts. And maybe the darkest responsibility belongs to desire itself, because Dubai survives on one simple human weakness: the fear of being ordinary. People come here chasing more money, more beauty, more status, more proof that they matter, and that hunger can justify almost anything. A man ignores exploitation because he wants profit. A woman ignores humiliation because she wants access. A government ignores injustice because it wants investment. Everyone tells themselves the same story. Just a little compromise. Just for now. Just until I'm safe. But systems built on compromise do not stay temporary. They become normal. That is how moral collapse happens. Not with one dramatic crime, but with millions of small permissions. Nobody wakes up and says, "Today, I will help build a machine of exploitation." They simply choose convenience, silence, profit, and the machine grows. That is the real answer to the question, who is responsible? Not one person, not one palace, not one corporation, a network, a chain, a civilization. Dubai is the visible result, but the roots are global. It exists because the world rewards exactly this behavior. Fast money, low accountability, beautiful lies. And as long as those rewards remain, the model will survive. Maybe in Dubai, maybe somewhere else next. Because if Dubai disappeared tomorrow, another version would rise somewhere else. Another city, another skyline, another golden promise built on invisible suffering. That is why the real fight is not against one place. It is against the values that made that place possible. The belief that wealth proves virtue. The belief that luxury means success. The belief that if suffering is far enough away, it stops being our problem. Those ideas built Dubai. And those same ideas live everywhere. That is the hardest truth of all. The city is not just guilty. It is familiar. That is why it scares us. Because when we look at Dubai long enough, we stop seeing a foreign city. We start seeing a reflection. In the end, this story can only have one ending. And that ending is not written in glossy investment brochures, not in consulting presentations from McKinsey and Company, and not in those beautiful Vision 2050 plans full of smiling families and flying taxis. The ending was written long before any skyscraper existed. It was written in the DNA of this land itself, in every grain of sand, in every hot wind crossing the Arabian desert. Look at a map, really look at it. A tiny, shining strip of civilization pressed between two enemies, the sea that keeps rising and the desert that never stops moving. And then ask yourself a simple question. Who do you think wins in the long run? Glass towers or time? Because time is the most ruthless creditor in history, and sooner or later, it always comes to collect. The desert understands patience better than humans ever will. It has watched empires rise and disappear like footprints after wind. It buried entire cities whose names we no longer remember. It swallowed kingdoms, armies, temples, and dreams. And now it looks at Dubai the same way, calmly, without emotion, like a predator watching prey that is already tired. Even now, the process has already started. Salt from the sea quietly eats metal from the inside. Sand enters every crack, every machine, every moving part. The sun burns plastic, weakens rubber, destroys paint, and turns maintenance into a full-time war against physics. Leave a luxury car outside long enough, and the desert begins reclaiming it. Leave a tower without constant repair, and the same thing happens. This is entropy, nature correcting what humans forced into the wrong place. It is the planet trying to heal a wound, trying to erase an expensive mistake. Now imagine the day when the money slows down. Not if, when. Because the age of easy oil is ending. The world is changing. Electric cars replace gasoline. Renewable energy grows stronger. Climate pressure increases. Global investors become more careful. The infinite money fantasy begins to crack. And Dubai's biggest secret is simple. It does not know how to live without constant cash flow. This city is not self-sustaining. It is not a village near a river. It is not a civilization built around natural survival. It is a patient connected to life support. Water must be created. Cold air must be manufactured. Food must be imported. Comfort must be purchased every single day. Everything depends on money moving. The second the flow weakens, panic begins. Who will pay millions every day just to turn seawater into drinking water for lawns and rooftop pools? Who will cover the electricity needed to cool empty shopping malls and half-empty towers? Who will maintain islands that are literally sinking back into the sea? Who will keep selling apartments in 50-degree heat when the fantasy stops feeling sexy? When the machine slows, reality enters fast. And then begins the most beautiful and terrifying event of all, the return of the sand. First, the highways. The dunes slowly cross the roads, cutting the city from the outside world like nature closing a door. Then the hotels. Sand enters the lobbies of 5-star resorts, covers the marble floors, fills fountains, turns infinity pools into giant children's sandboxes. Luxury boutiques become storage rooms for dust. Designer handbags float in forgotten floodwater. The air-conditioned silence disappears. Then the towers. Windows crack. Elevators stop. Wind moves through empty penthouses where investors never really lived anyway. Birds nest on the 100th floor. Falcons and vultures claim the skyline. And Burj Khalifa, the great symbol of victory over nature, becomes something much simpler. A giant rusting sundial in the desert. A steel finger pointing at a sky humanity never conquered. A monument to pride. An Ozymandias of the 21st century. Look at my works, ye mighty, and despair. But there will be nobody left to despair. Only silence, only wind, only endless dunes stretching to the horizon. Future archaeologists, maybe 1,000 years from now, will dig through these ruins and ask the same question we ask about lost empires. Why? Why was this absurd civilization built here? Why did they spend so much energy creating fake islands, indoor ski slopes, and glass towers in a place where survival itself required constant war against reality? Why did they choose performance over permanence? They will find skeletons of Ferraris and Lamborghinis. They will find broken elevators and luxury watches buried under dust. They will find abandoned artificial islands shaped like palm trees and world maps no ocean ever agreed to respect. But they will not find the main answer, because there was never a deeper meaning, only hype, only branding. only the desperate human attempt to outrun mortality with architecture. Dubai is a bedtime story told to a dying civilization, a beautiful lie whispered to help us sleep while the real problems grow outside the window. But morning always comes, and when the sun rises, mirages disappear. What remains is not paradise, only heat, only debt, only consequences. This is why Dubai matters, not because it is unique, but because it is a preview, a demonstration model for what happens when humanity decides that technology can replace limits, that wealth can cancel climate, and that comfort is more important than truth. It is not just Dubai's future, it is a warning for everyone, because the same logic exists everywhere now. Build faster, consume more, ignore consequences, sell the dream, let tomorrow handle the cost. Dubai simply pushed that philosophy to its final form. That is why its collapse will feel symbolic. It will not just be the fall of one city. It will feel like the collapse of an idea, the idea that endless growth is possible on a finite planet. And when that idea finally breaks, people will look back at the shining towers and realize they were never symbols of success. They were warning signs, expensive ones. Visible from space, the desert already knows this, the sea already knows this, time certainly knows this. The only ones still pretending not to know are us. So what is Dubai, really? Is it the future? Is it success? Is it proof that humanity can defeat nature, buy comfort, and build paradise with enough money? No. Dubai is a mirror. And that is exactly why it makes people uncomfortable. Because when we look at it honestly, we are not just looking at one city in the desert. We are looking at ourselves, at our greed, at our fear, at our obsession with status, speed, and the desperate need to look successful, even when everything underneath is falling apart. Dubai is not an exception. It is the purest version of the modern world. It is capitalism with the makeup removed. It is consumerism without shame. It is ambition without limits and morality without backbone. It simply says out loud what many societies try to hide politely. Everything has a price. Water, silence, bodies, time, even dignity. Especially dignity. That is why people love it and hate it at the same time. Because deep down, we recognize the logic. We understand it. Many people dream of living there, not because they love the desert, but because they love what the city promises. Power, attention, proof that they escaped being ordinary. Dubai sells one product above all else: importance. It tells you that if you come here, if you make enough money, if you wear the right watch, drive the right car, and stand high enough above everyone else, then your life will finally matter. But that promise is a trap, because no amount of luxury can fix emptiness. No penthouse can cure loneliness. No skyline can replace belonging. And no tower, no matter how tall, can protect you from time. That is the final joke of the whole city. It was built to escape human limits, but it is trapped by them more than anywhere else. It depends on invisible labor. It depends on endless money. It depends on machines running every second. It depends on nature behaving politely. It depends on silence, and silence never lasts forever. Sooner or later, truth arrives. Sometimes as economic collapse, sometimes as political fear, sometimes as climate disaster, sometimes simply as exhaustion. Because every illusion has an expiration date, and Dubai is one of the most expensive illusions ever created. People call it a dream city, but dreams are fragile things. They survive only while people agree not to wake up. The moment enough people ask real questions: who built this? Who pays for this? Who suffers for this? And how long can this continue? The spell begins to break. And once the spell breaks, all that remains is structure: glass, steel, debt, heat, and silence. That silence is important, because behind all the noise, the fountains, the engines, the music, the sales pitches, the social media flexing, there is a terrifying silence underneath. The silence of a place with no roots, a city where most people are temporary, a place where money is louder than memory, where belonging is rented monthly, where history is often designed by architects instead of inherited from ancestors. A city can survive without beauty. A city can survive without luxury, but it cannot survive forever without meaning. And meaning cannot be imported in shipping containers. It cannot be bought from Paris, London, or New York. It cannot be installed like a chandelier in a hotel lobby. It has to grow, slowly, painfully, honestly. That is what Dubai never truly built. It built spectacle, it built efficiency, it built desire. But meaning needs roots, and roots hate concrete. That is why, in the end, the desert will win. Not because deserts are evil, but because deserts are honest. They do not pretend. They do not promise impossible things. They simply remind us of scale, of limits, of humility. They remind us that human beings are small, temporary creatures, trying very hard to feel permanent. Dubai is the opposite of humility. It is humanity shouting at the universe, "Look at me, I am bigger than nature." And the universe always answers the same way. "No, you're not." That answer may take years, maybe decades, but it always comes. Empires fall, markets crash, glass breaks, sand returns. And when that day comes, when the lights dim and the towers begin to rust, people will not remember Dubai as the beginning of a golden future. They will remember it as the final performance of an old civilization that mistook consumption for progress and branding for immortality. A beautiful performance, a terrifying one, but still only a performance. And maybe that is the real lesson. Not that Dubai is uniquely bad, but that it is dangerously normal. It is what happens when the whole world starts believing appearance is more important than truth. When we choose comfort over conscience. When we treat people like tools and nature like an inconvenience. That story does not belong only to Dubai. It belongs to all of us, which means the warning belongs to all of us too. Reality is always harder than the advertisement, but only people willing to face reality can remain truly free. That is the verdict. Dubai is not the future. It is the last glittering monument to a dying idea. A perfect, shining coffin. And today, we open the lid